Welcome back to Afternoon Live. Disagreement can create tension, and it's especially difficult when that comes between friends or loved ones. Here to share tips for navigating these tough situations, we welcome back personal growth strategist and author of Build Your Village, our friend Florence Ann Romano. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you, and it's so funny that this is the topic today, being election day.
'Tis the season for maybe some challenging disagreements coming our way with our loved ones. So let's start with creating some safe spaces, maybe some rules of engagement with the people in your life.
Well, sensitive topics, you have to create that safe space, and you have to decide before you actually allow this conversation to happen whether or not you can trust yourself that this is a safe space for them to have that conversation. You may say in your mind, yes, I'm open to hearing other opinions. Yes, I'm open to providing that safe space. But once you're in it, you may realize that it's not exactly the most comfortable place for you. So you have to know thyself first, and whether or not you're actually going to be able to provide that environment in a way that someone is not going to feel judged or it's going to come off in an aggressive manner.
Yeah, I love that self-awareness. You have to check yourself in the first place, not think about this other person disagrees with me, so they're wrong. It's like, wait a minute, I need to be non-judgmental and open to hearing their ideas as well.
And sometimes it's okay to say that you don't want to have a conversation about something. I think that's also an unpopular opinion, that you can say, we agree to disagree. Who does that anymore at this point? I think everyone's just always disagreeing about everything. Or if you're only agreeing with them, then that's the only way you can be friends with that person. But in a scenario, especially like election day or even with the holidays coming up, oftentimes you don't want to talk about things that are going to launch a lot of emotions or trigger a lot of different feelings that could ruin the environment. So figure out what those topics are that are more benign in nature and, again, more triggering in nature. There is a happy medium there, though I know people don't believe that anymore, that there actually is a moderate place that you can have a conversation about things and it be a give and take and it be kind and respectful. But again, you have to think about, how am I going to react? How am I going to make sure I'm keeping my emotions and my language in check? And if you can't control yourself, how can you expect other people to play by those rules too then? And think about the audience you have there as well. What is, you might know them very well or maybe little, but you might be able to feel out the situation and decide whether or not you feel certain topics can be on the table, depending on the audience.
For sure. And what about, we know empathy is often kind of the path forward. How do you flex that muscle in times when it feels really tough to relate to somebody else?
I always talk about gut checks and action steps in my book. The gut checks are, what am I thinking? What am I feeling right now based on what's happening in front of me or based on what I'm reading or based on what I'm experiencing? And empathy is so different than sympathy. Empathy really is about putting yourself in someone's shoes and what that might feel like to be them. So if you really are going to be empathetic in a scenario, you still can stay true to your values, your ideals, but maybe in that moment, you're going to try to listen to the story that person is telling and think about what it must be like to be them, experiencing those feelings, experiencing that moment. And again, it may not change your opinion, but it will change your reaction and your demeanor and your thoughtfulness in the conversation.
Well, and even if you do know that you have close loved ones or friends that maybe you disagree on really important topics with, we can still find ways to positively spend our time together and do something nice.
You can volunteer together. You can engage in shared hobbies. Those foster really strong bonds, especially when you have a lot of differences. I laugh because I was actually just talking about this with my mom earlier, that some cousins of mine, we have very differing opinions about the state of the world and all sorts of things, but I love them completely. I just know that there are certain activities we won't do together, certain topics we won't talk about together. But the things that do bond us, the things that we do have in common, that's where we spend our time. That's where we focus our energy. And that's what's written on our hearts.
Yeah, the disagreements don't take away that family love, those bonds that you have that are so important. It is so good to see you. I hope you have a wonderful election evening, my friend.
You too, you too. And the holidays are upon us, so keep this all in the back of your brains as
There
you're
you
around
go.
those tables.
Good stuff. All right, we'll see you soon. Again,
Bye-bye.
Florence Ann's book is Build Your Village. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com.